Hello, fellow Clixers. It's Cliff from Clicks with Clifford. As always, bringing you another How to Play Heroclix video. Today, we're going to be going over combat values, which are movement, attack, defense, and damage. In a previous video, I went over where to find those and what they represent on your dial, as well as how they interact with the map. And now we're going to show you how to use those in combat. We're going to take two characters and have them attack and move around each other so that you have a better understand of how things work in Heroclix. Now let's get into it. Okay, in a previous video, I covered the combat values, where to find them, and what each one represents. We have movement, attack, defense, damage, range, and targets, or lightning bolts. Today I'm just going to explain exactly how you use those in a game of Heroclix. Now the first one, and the easiest one, is movement. The one located all the way at the top of the dial, next to the wings or the boots. The number there, in the case of Batman, is 10. His movement is 10, which means that he can move anywhere between 0 and 10 squares during any movement that he does. Sounds weird to think you can move 0, but you can choose to move 0. There are game effects that say when this character moves, then whatever the effect is. And some people don't really want to move, but you can move 0. So that means Batman can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever, and end his movement. He can't move any further. Now in this game, moving diagonal only counts as 1 square. I know in some other grid square type games, it's 2, but in this one, it's only 1, which is pretty awesome. And then you're going to take into effect things like terrain, and opposing characters, things that I covered in a previous video that restrict how you can move. So take those into account while you're moving. You may have to move around some obstacles or be forced to stop in the case of elevation. One interesting thing I'd like to bring out for movement is that unless you have an improved movement such as flight, you have to stop moving as soon as you enter a square next to opposing characters. So if Batman wanted to go 1, 2, he now has to stop because he is in a square adjacent to an opposing character. Now, if he has improved movement through characters, such as the flight ability granting, you can just keep on moving and you don't have to be stopped. But if you don't have any improved movement, then you have to stay there. And another thing is you cannot occupy the same square as any other figure. So Batman cannot fit into the square Absorbing Man is, so he cannot end his movement in that square, and there's no way of getting around that. That's just the rules. The next one down, the middle of the powers that or numbers that you see there, is attack. Look, it's right in the middle, has a little fist right next to it. That is what your attack value is. So that is used whenever you make a close or ranged attack, and you compare that number to your attack roll. Now your attack roll is any 2 6-sided dice rolled together, and then you add the number that you rolled for that, in this case a 7, to their attack value. Batman's attack value is 12, meaning that he's going to add 7 for a total of 19 while attacking whatever character that he is. In this case, he's doing a ranged attack against Absorbing Man, and I rolled a 19. Which brings us into the defense values. Defense values are the bottommost ones, and in the case of Absorbing Man, who's getting attacked, he has a 19 defense, because he's on click number 4 right now. So when you're making the attack, you're trying to equal or beat their defense value. So anything a 19, 20, 21, so forth would beat his defense. So in this case, I rolled a 19, I hit him. And that brings us to the damage, which is the one all the way on the right there. In the case of Batman, it is 4 damage. Now there's an important concept in Heroclix known as damage taken and damage dealt. So damage dealt is any amount of damage that you would deal to someone. So in this case, with his attack value being 4, or damage value being 4, I would deal 4 damage to him. And damage taken is whatever amount of actual damage he ends up taking after other game effects come into place, such as damage reducers on the defense power spot. The other 2 combat values are range, which Batman's is 7, so he can attack anything within 7 squares, and that does not count the square that he occupies. So you can go 1, 2, 3, all the way out to 7, and he can target anybody into any of those squares as long as there's no blocking or other characters in the way. And then the final combat value is lightning bolts, which in this case, Batman has one lightning bolt, which means he can attack one character, which he did. So we attacked, we dealt 4 damage to him. He has a power that reduces damage by 1, so he is only actually taking 3 damage. 1, 2, 3, which is the total amount of clicks you actually end up turning his dial. And that works for both close and ranged attacks. That is all of the combat values and exactly how you use them. Let me know if there's any confusion on that's just a basic attack, not using any powers, just Batman attacking Absorbing Man using his defense powers. Now we're going to get into targeting multiple characters. Let's say there's 2 Batman here, and it's Absorbing Man's turn, and he wants to attack both characters. Well, you have to look at the dial, and in the case of Absorbing Man, he has 2 lightning bolts next to his range, which means that he can target 2 characters. So he can target both Batman, even as long as they're both within range and within line of fire. So he has a range of 3, 1, 2, 3. So he can see both of those characters because it's not blocked, and they're within range. So for targeting multiple characters, you're going to roll still 1 pair of dice, even though you're hitting 2 characters. You're making 1 attack. That's actually perfect. So in the game of Heroclix, if there is a slanted dice, it is a reroll of both dice. We're going to pick it up, and we're going to reroll. 3, 5. So he rolled a 5. You're going to take his attack value of 12, add 5 to 17, and compare that to the defense values of both of these Batmans, and see if you equal or beat any of them. So in this case, I beat Batman, this zombie Batman right here, and I did not hit this Batman because he has an 18 defense and he has a 17, so I only hit 1 character. Now for this case, we're going to pretend like this was a little bit higher of an attack roll in the case of a 7, meaning that he hit anything with 19, targeting both characters. Now when you hit more than 1 character, you have to spread the damage out equal to the amount of damage that your character actually has. So I'm dealing out, in this case, only 2 damage. If it's higher, say he had a 4 damage, you would have to split that between both of them, and you can split either 0 or all. So you can do 0 to this Batman and all 4 to this Batman, or split that in any way you see fit. 1 here and 3 here, or 2 and 2. Doesn't really matter as long as the total amount of damage being dealt is only equal to the amount of damage that the combat value of Absorbing Man actually is. You can't just be like, I deal 9. It has to be the damage he actually deals. So in this case, if we hit both of them, I could say both to this Batman, forcing him to take 2 damage. Yeah, he's hard to click. And that is how you make attacks, how you compare attack to defense, and how to damage characters using standard ranged attacks. Close attacks are the exact same, except you need to be right next to them in order to do it. Some characters do not have a range, they have a range of 0, which means they can only attack characters that are right next to them. Okay, Clixers, thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you guys have a better understanding of how to make an attack and what your combat values mean. If you have any questions whatsoever, hit me up in the comment section below, and I will answer those to the best of my abilities. Now, we're just getting started. There's probably 10 more videos on how to play Heroclix coming your guys' way. We're going to actually get into what a real game would look like, start of game, and then go over some of the powers as well in future videos. So look forward to that. And as always, stay bored, gamers.
And I'm bored.
And I'm so bored of this game.
I'm so bored.